Well, it's a beautiful Friday morning here in Alpharetta, Georgia, and we're kicking off the SCC in Europe. My name is Gormizer. Joining me on the desk for this is going to be Mifflin. Again, a fun day, action-packed SCC to kick things off. SBL a little bit later on in the day, and I'm very excited to watch this one. The Aru Scorpions versus the Highland Ravens is what we're going to be watching. It's going to be the last set for Europe as of this week, Mifflin, and that makes things a little fun to see what they're going to offer. Both of these teams, I think one's 1-1, the other's 0-2. We'll look at the standings, of course, all the schedule and all that in a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see which one of them can pull out ahead.
You know, Gore, at risk of sounding biased, I have decided that the Highland Ravens are my favorite European SEC team to watch. Not my favorite SEC team, overall. I'm not, rooting for them, but anytime I get to watch Vaporish Coast or Lamogao just do anything, it is so fun because they're, one, incredibly unorthodox, and one, just, the youngest pro player ever.
Yeah, I really like, specifically because, you mentioned Mogao, but, Mogao just plays whatever
Dude, he just does what he wants.
He just does not care about what is meta and what is not. We can look at the schedule, though, and see what exactly we're talking about over here in Europe and what we have to treat you with. Again, if you were watching yesterday, the Mambo, this one was a surprise to me, lost to the Ferryman 2-1. And then the Wargs cemented themselves as the top team in Europe as of right now with the 2-0 victory over the Gladiators. So the Ravens and the Scorpions are going to be the last two to try and figure out where they end up standing. I believe if the Scorpions win this one in the standings, there's a chance for 4 teams to be tied at 1 and 2 down at the bottom. Yeah, right there. It is all up to them finding a win, but as such, they have not been able to find one. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they've also lost 0-4, so it's 2 2-0s in a row there. So it hasn't necessarily been the start to the season that they won.
No, not at all. You want to be able to find a win somewhere, and this is a squad in the Scorpions that I think will be able to find a win throughout the year. I would place them very similarly to what we saw from just F6 last year, in that a dark horse contender that has shown glimpses of greatness, but maybe not reaching up to those heights consistently.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it several times, but when we look in and kind of hone in on the Scorpions specifically, Calvin has been one of my favorite support players to watch, which it's really interesting, like you mentioned, you mentioned Coast and Mogao on the other team, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, but having those players that stand out because of what they're able to bring, I am so happy that this started with a Calvin play on top of that. But it's just been one of the supports that I think throughout the time that we've gotten to see them in the SEC have been making very solid and good support plays. I think it was the Kepri last year that really stood out to me first, that made me remember the name, and then since then it has just been very good, consistent play that it has made the duo lane look pretty solid between Calvin and Davey. But like you said, things haven't quite gone the way they want it to. And, unfortunately losing all of their games, but still having a lot of potential behind them. It is a team that I'm excited to watch throughout this entire year.
Yeah, and it's a squad that I think has issues that are easier to remedy. It is very difficult to make a team better at early game. I feel like that's the only portion of the game that you get to play every single time, and if you're struggling there, you're probably going to continue to struggle. This is a team that is very adept at finding leads. It's what they do with it. Can we transition that lead into an objective? Are we getting picks and then going to the Pyromancer, the Gold Fury? What are we getting after the Gold Fury? How do we keep our opposition on the back foot? How do we keep them reacting? It feels like the Aru Scorpions at times establish a lead, and they say, okay, well, now they can't do anything. The opposition can't go to the Gold Fury, and they're happy with that. Whereas I would like to see them push it a little bit harder, make the enemies answer difficult questions consistently. It's an issue that I think is paralleled by the Oni Warriors at times.
Yeah, well, it's that idea of, okay, we've built it up, but what do you do with the stuff afterward? Grab the lead and make something happen with it. We'll see if they're going to be able to do so against the Ravens. And Mifflin, we had talked about it, and we'll mention, I guess, the 2 pillars on the side lanes after this. But I'm going to give a lot of credit. Rapio, who's been around for a ton of time. Silenced, who's been around for a long time. Sap, who I distinctly remember thinking, I don't know who this guy is last year when I first saw him. And then one Vulcan game later, I'm like, oh, I'm going to remember this dude. He had a really, really solid game. Of course, now he's playing a lot more consistent things that are actually in the meta and plays really well. But it is these side pillars. I mean, you can see the Jormungandr here, something that feels like a European special as of right now, but Mogao also known for a long time ago the Hades, but more recently the Kumba solo, things like that have been happening. Although I say more recently, he's been playing Kumba solo since Kumba came out. It's just more recently that has been the go-to, I would say, for Mogao. Whereas Coast, Coast has like the most competitive pentas across all of the leagues just because he got them in the SCL and the SCC and somehow consistently finds them.
Yeah, Coast's just an incredibly talented player. Turns out if you start playing game at like 13 years old, you
just get like
stay
real
good at it. Yeah, when your brain is actually developing and you're developing it around Smite, yeah, you might have a little bit of success roll out your way. But speaking of Rapio and Coast, both players that played in the Smite console league, the SCL, I had the opportunity to line up against them a couple of times. But small history lesson, there was a massive disparity between the North American SCL and the European SCL. North America was generally dominant there. But there was always rumblings about exactly 2 players in the EU SCL every single time, every single LAN. Hey, maybe their team's not so great, but these guys will win them games. Rapio and Coast were brought up consistently. So it is just a treat to see them transition themselves to PC and still find a very good deal of success.
And Mifflin, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but it is very funny to do that. But isn't one of the pentakills against your team?
Yes.
That was like the first one that he got, and everyone was calling him the Penta Kid.
I won that set.
You won the set, and that's what matters. At the end of the day, you won the set, and that's what everyone forgets except for you. But
no,
as long as you remember it, that's what matters most. We'll get into picks and bans here for game number 1, and we'll see how this one shakes out. I'm excited again to watch it. That was in 2017, and that's just I pulled up the list of pentakills. It's not long, as it turns out, and Coast's name shows up on it 3 times across 2 leagues.
Next highest is at 2, right?
Impressive. I think so, and I think it was Cyclone Spin has 2 in the SBL, so like that one I give a lot more.
Maybe
like,
we weight it like 1.75 times per SBL. Yeah.
And well, but the thing is like they just don't happen a whole ton. And I also think this is missing one from last year. Yeah, Johnny's isn't mentioned on here. And Johnny has a couple, but again,
Johnny has a couple?
Yeah, he had one in SBL, and then I think the year prior he did one in the SCC. So like like you're picking them up, but all across the leagues they tend to stack up.
Yeah, I remember one of Cyclone's. It was way back when. It was at the Kali Destruction into Fountain to finish up the pentakill. Super fun. But Gore, we got
picks and bans and stuff to get through. Yeah, so the Ari Scorpions are your first pick. They ban out the Cthulhu, the Jormungandr, and the Agni. The other side, the Bastet, the Medusa, and the Daji ban away. Chalk first pick, Mifflin. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been seeing a lot of Chungle lately. I would not have ever, at the beginning of Season 9, if you said, hey, give me a list of 20 different gods, 30 different gods.
Give me the whole 110.
That you're going to think are going to be first pick. Chalk is not in those 30 for me.
And I don't think it should be. Chalk is decent. He's not a bad pick by any stretch of the imagination. Has flex potential into arguably 3 roles, but maybe a little bit more so concretely in 2, solo and jungle. But with so many high priority warriors still available that are higher up on the tier list and more consistent at every single portion of the game that don't fall off nearly as hard, I just don't see very many reasons to go towards the Chalk this highly prioritized, especially considering when you know the Ravens generally aren't taking this pick. Rapio might take it, but he's not going to pick it this high in the priority order. You know Mogao doesn't want it. Mogao wants to play maybe even that Capri.
Like exactly what I was going to say,
something from the Guardian tap. So in taking the Chalk, it limits your draft a little bit. I feel like it could have just very easily have been like a Gilgamesh,
Tiamat,
or a Thoth, or a Tiamat, or even the Sobek if you really want to get that safety pick. There's a higher chance that Sobek gets taken on the other side than a Chalk does. But if this is the style of draft the Scorpions want to play towards, it doesn't necessarily hurt you. Your composition can still build out well around the Chalk. I just wouldn't have taken it that quickly.
It's mostly what I guess it was the Fringe Emperor. I saw a lot of highlights playing in the jungle for them.
He likes it.
Something, that I expect to see. Again, I've been seeing a lot of jungle. And you know what? If it works, it works. And so far, I don't know if I could probably pull up the exact numbers for it, but for some teams, it's been working out pretty well. Uller gets locked in alongside that Nemesis and the Khepri. Uller is not something I am used to seeing that often lately. I feel like, well, that's not true. PandaCat has been like almost exclusively playing it, and then nobody else has really been touching him.
Yeah, occasionally we'll see it in the North American SEC. I believe we saw it once yesterday, but Ull generally a god that is picked up to dominate the lane. Bluestone Transcendent start, going to make you a very strong bully, and should help alleviate some of the lacking pressure that Capri's going to bring, not one of the highest clear guardians in the game, or could potentially even have it be that flex potential between duo lane and mid, keep the opposition guessing in the ban. Seems like the Scorpions, though, hedging their bet that this Uller is going into the duo lane.
You know, it's never a good sign when I decide to pull up my last week's stats, because like I mentioned the chalk, and now immediately I was like, all right, well, I do want to see like what's been going on with him, and I can't find him when he's played 6 times, and I look at the 5s, the 4s, and the 3s, and I don't see his name in the win column. That never instills a lot of confidence in me. He was sitting. Oh my God, he's so far down the list.
No
yeah,
way,
okay,
he's like
it's
1-6.
only he's 2-6.
Okay.
So he won
Well,
a third
way
of his
better.
games. It's just it doesn't even I don't alphabetize them for whatever reason. I should probably change that, but he was sitting between the Artio and the Emoja down there at the 2s. Not a successful last
Yamoja's at
week.
that win rate as well.
Well, she's got 2 wins across. Oh my God! Now I have to find her in the how many games played column.
Yeah, I'll break it down while you while you
do
look
the
that
thing.
way.
Oh, 2 games. She won 2 games across 2. She won 2 in 2. She was 100%.
Yeah, so 2 wins, impressive sometimes.
Yeah.
But not for in Chalk's
That's why we
case.
go for win percent and not just, hey, this is the sheer amount of games won.
Yeah,
most of the
I
time.
agree. Chalk's not up there. 2-6, not good. 2-2, very good for Yamoja. Zhonghui and Mulan round out the draft for the Ravens, and Seoul and
Is this the
Kali,
Dragons?
the last 2 on the other side. Yeah, I thought that this is a very Dragon-style draft. It is aggression through and through. Have we seen Pagon take Zhonghui just yet? I don't.
I
think
guess
so.
okay. So this is last year's Dragons.
Yeah, this is Hurry Win Dragons.
Replace that with like a Susano, then this is current year Dragons.
I might even like this draft with the Susano. I think I like this draft full stop from the Ravens. This is a aggression through and through composition with only 1 late game scaler, your nemesis in the jungle. So it might make it a little bit more difficult to leverage some of that early game aggression in the mid 3v3. But otherwise, Mulan in the solo should be able to hold her own. Uhl should be able to establish pressure pretty consistently up against the Soul, especially once those supports start to rotate out. And you're not even worried about the late game scaling of this nemesis, because Kali, similarly, going to take a little while to hit the ground running.
And this Kali actually makes something a little more interesting happen after spending so much time talking about how we've been seeing a ton of Chalk jungle. This doesn't seem like it's going to be going into the jungle, right? I mean, unless they're doing something really wild with this Kali, it is going to be expected to be matching up presumably against that Mulan on the other side. That's a matchup I'm not sure that we've actually gotten to see, or at least that I've gotten to see, outside of like casuals, maybe in ranked and things like that. In competitive play, Chalk versus Mulan feels like a fresh one. And there's not like a lot of, okay, well, this person can interrupt X and Y and Z. It really does just come down to, okay, well, Mulan has some self-heal and good clear, and Chalk has some self-heal and good clear, and I feel like they kind of balance each other out.
Yeah, it's essentially whoever ults first probably going to lose the fight. If you ult first on Mulan, Chalk can use his ultimate to CC me in the knock-up and then knock you up the second you come out of it. Similarly, if Chalk ults first, Mulan can do the exact same thing. So, I'm imagining a pretty slow pace to the match, but there could be some fireworks in the solo depending on the builds.
Well, we'll get to see as we jump into game number 1. I almost said game number 2. We were just going to fast forward in time. No, we're going into the first one. And no funny business that's going to be going on here. Almost immediately my eyes are drawn to the dual lane, and it's just because Khepri, abduct, things like that. Again, something that can misplace you but pull something in. And then exactly what I was going to talk about, that pluck, which forces an early beads out of silence. Might be a first blood to kick things off over in solo. No, French Emperor, you had mentioned the Kali, specifically Tomato Kali being played. Does not have the early game scaling as much, so it's going to take a little bit of time.
Was that 2014 convention skin, I think, or 2015?
2013.
2013. Oh my god, it's been so long.
I wanted to say 2012, but then I remembered that Artemis has the 2012 one.
Yep.
And that is one of so
it's the best recolor in the
I
game.
absolutely love using that skin, but also I'm a big fan of like Wrangler.
Ah, you like OG skins.
Yes, as it turns out, I like playing with the skins that I was really big into when I bought them. There's a lot of cool new skins, and yet I always feel guilty when I see them. Like I play like a 2014 Athena skin, and it's not better than any of the other ones, but they just look. It's fun. And how? Well, we'll look at Speakerino under a little bit of pressure. Sap doesn't have a lot of mana. That's going to be a good stun from French Emperor, but not a lot of damage follow-up. And this is going to be the problem. You've got a Tiamat Kali early on. You can do as much setup as you want. You don't have the punching power that the Nemesis and specifically the Zhonghui are going to have right now.
Yeah, Picorino doing a good job there, making sure Rapio can't walk forward. That was a dangerous play from French Emperor to jump over the wall, but Sap 7, low on mana, Rapio routed by this Tiamat. Should maintain the Kali's life. Very interested to see that end. Just to break down that slight skirmish we saw in the Soul Lane a little bit earlier with Lamogao in the 1v2. Kind of wild that a Mulan out-cleared a Chalk and Kali together. Had they used their abilities to hit the wave, I think maybe a little bit higher kill potential in that lane, but Mulan, or Lamogao rather, was just allowed to walk out.
And it leaves maybe a little more wanting from the solo side for the Scorpions. Rapio goes deep, gets a red buff. And so that speed is going to be sitting around, plucked back in. You need a little more damage. You've got a whole dual lane coming to help you out. And you might be able to find a little bit more. A gank without a gank. They're just fighting in the jungle. Calvin is locked down and killed off. And Rapio gets first blood in the game. They might find a second one. A good leap from Picorino. The slow is there. Not a lot of mana for Sap to work with. They're going under the tower, though. Not enough to get the kill. And Picorino is going to get to live through this one.
Yeah, great body blocks from Sap 7 trying to stop Picorino, who's forced to use his leap just to immune the physical body of Zhang Kui. Sap 7 sticks close, tries to get some of that mana back through just MP5, gets enough for the stun, but a little too late. Picorino already inside the tower. Not really a great time for Rapio to be walking into towers, level 4 Nemesis. Not the best at that. And so Picorino able to maintain his life. Unfortunately, though, for the All-Blue Scorpions, the same cannot be said of Calvin, who tries to make Rapio pay for that red buff invade, but instead pays with his own life.
That might have been the best example that we just saw on screen of what I expect out of this solo lane more than anything, where it's just like, all right, I'm going to slap the hell out of you, and then you beat me down, and then we're both going to heal it up and go our separate ways, because it is not going to be, I think, consistent damage. But ults create an interesting conversation. Big silence AoE from Chalk. Big controlling knock-up and some damage there from a Mulan as well. Like, it feels like both of them are going to make some rotations later on, Mifflin, that is going to be massively impactful.
Yeah, both of them going to have great dive targets as well, Picorino and Sap 7. Both probably going to be squishy for a little while. The job easier for Lamogao, who will be diving a Tiamat that doesn't have the opportunity to get death immunity from their support. Speaking of, some support coming from the jungler here, but needed a little bit earlier. Rapio takes down Picorino.
Oh, French Emperor is going to continue for the chase. That's going to be a full heal. And Sap has no mana to work with, so it ends up going 1-for-1 mid for jungle. With that first blood bounty that went over towards Rapio, it feels like it helps level some things out. Poor Calvin, oh no, might be caught in the wrong place right now though. He's gonna get aggressed on. Silence, gets the abduct, the damage is there, the stun. But they just don't have enough coming from Coast yet to make sure that that kill happens.
No, not quite. Hail Arrow's a little bit too late, so Davey able to confirm his own buff there. I think this lane, the soul lane that is going to turn around very shortly, Gore. Once Mulan gets some tears into the training mastery, once she gets like the second tick of her second ability, that lane is going to be very difficult for Ugly One to play into, especially with the style of build he's gone for. Had he decided to go for Transcendence, the scaling on his healing would have gone a long way, but not getting a whole lot of power infusion from any of the cudgel options means that Lamogao, who will only continually start healing more and more as his build goes onwards and deal more damage in that same right, also benefiting from additional attack speed from his passive. I believe it's 20%, has a great initiation factor. Ugly One going to struggle in that 1v1. Maybe we see Kali start to rotate around. Already a 1 level or so lead for the French Emperor, who's been sitting comfortably at 7, whereas Rapio just now ticking over. And with Crusher finished up, he's got some decent gank potential already.
But it's that balancing point, right? You get the small lead in the jungle. You're 2 levels down in mid. You've got to figure out where you're going to put that. Sap has been doing a good job farming. And maybe it's that assist earlier. Again, a couple of stolen camps, although it adds up to a lot, apparently, over time. This Tiamat has not been holding their own too well. And Sap, especially now that they have mana, can actually start applying some of the damage. They're going to go for it here. Calvin abducted, and now it's a turn onto Davey, a little deep, but the damage is going to be good enough. Zhang Kui chasing him down. The ghosts are getting a lot out there, but no, it's French Emperor instead who turns things around and kills off the Zhang Kui. Silence is low, and that ult is available. Not necessary, as they pull in Calvin one more time for a kill, but mid, especially with a lead for the support, the Ravens wish that one could have gone a little bit better.
I really like that play from Calvin to chase out Eye Silence. He was almost like a sheepdog, just saying, hey, go this way so you can't use Scarab's Blessing to save Sap 7. And in doing so, does force that Zhang Kui to fall down, but trades out his life. A trade I'm sure he's willing to take.
Davey chased down. Disapparate's doing a lot of work here. It's going to keep him alive. Rapio will get the purple buff, though, so at least an invade when you aren't able to get the kill. Keep some things going in your favor. It's about, what, 500, 400 gold? Oh, man. Ghost jumps in. Oh, misses. the bladed arrow and does not have any of the follow-up damage. At least went for the play, though, so I'm going to give him commence either way.
Yeah, I really liked that from Coast. He doesn't want to jump over the wall. He pops the stim early, and he used his own minion wave to get vision inside the tower of Davy. Had the Davy walked even close to that purple buff wall, likely would have lost his life to the hail of arrows. So good play from Vapor's Coast, just to force Davy to play perfectly.
Well, purple buff invade. Interesting enough that after losing the purple buff, Davy, is playing this one. Let's Calvin pick it up. And so maybe something going on there with who's getting this. Coast, I'm not sure, realizes that he's in between two. Good lead. And the beads are going to get used to make sure that the pluck isn't doing much. He's getting a lot of damage back there, but there is the ult from Davy. All you need is a couple more autos or Calvin's help.
Yikes.
And they're going to get it. Calvin putting a little bad blood on it as well, making sure that he knows he's shut down. Yeah,
Calvin put some mustard on that kill. Lets him know that he should feel bad about it. And I'm not sure that Coast should feel that bad about
Coast,
it.
By the way, I'm in a 1v2 and it took forever to kill me.
Yeah,
you had to use both ults.
Blink, man, both ults. Like, I don't know if you got to be taunting all that. Coast's going to walk back to lane without his beads, though, and in doing so, will be exposed to that exact same play yet again. I'm sure Calvin would love to rotate back through and try and force yet another fight on this Ull, who will not have any CC immunity available for about 2 minutes.
Well, player damage right now heavily favoring the Ravens, but only because 3 of them are standing up on top, and specifically over there in solo lane. It doesn't make a huge difference in terms of golden experience right now. It seems like everyone that has a lead on one side is countered by somebody else with a lead on the Scorpions. So now it's a fight over the Oracles, not something that you typically see both the junglers and the supports waiting for. They end up getting split as well. The pull onto Calvin is going to be good, but there's a pluck that does not displace Calvin the way he wanted to. Oh my god, they are all locked down, and no taunts in retaliation. Instead, doing what you wanted to see the Scorpions go for, which is looking for more after the kill. The Ravens don't find anything, but they were still looking for it.
Yeah, they were. Great ward coverage from the Aru Scorpions on the left-hand side may have dissuaded the Highland Ravens from trying to move in towards that Gold Fury, but that was a 4-stack with a free pick, and you maintained all of your important cooldowns, barring Rapio's ultimate, which I would argue had already gotten entirely the entire value. It's a single target ultimate, and he killed that exact single target. So I think the Highland Ravens may be in a position where they could have looked towards the Gold Fury, but I suppose not willing to leave it up to risk, and instead walk away with their 500 massive gold lead.
Hey, look, at the way this game's been going, 500? That's about as max as it's ever gotten for either of these squads. And finally enough. It goes up to that 700 because of the Scorpion, and it's enough to make the graph tick over to stop showing the 500 there. It's, again, maybe minuscule in the grand scheme and across all 5. We'll see, I think, how it ends up contemplating throughout the rest of the game, or arresting throughout the rest of the game. 3 deaths, though, that are on the Calvin specifically. It feels like having the spread out kills that the Scorpions have, kind of making sure they're roughly even in a majority of these roles, versus dumping all of your kills onto the support like the Ravens have. It feels like it's almost benefiting the Scorpions in some of the team fights.
Has been so far. Did you see that little 1v1 between Ugly One and Lamogao? Yeah, Mulan is dominating this lane. Ugly One going to be stuck inside his tower more often than not. And once that silver breastplate becomes a breastplate of valor for Lamogao, it's only going to be that much worse. That said, Mogao's been playing very aggressively. He's been playing on that tower line consistently, and he's been eating those ultimates every single time from Chalk. I think French Emperor could have the opportunity to try and rotate over, maybe put some pressure in towards this Mulan in the soul lane. But that Breastplate of Valor just got finished, and he's got Berserker Shield, so he's double-dipping physical defense against a double physical solo and jungle. So maybe I'm just wrong. I take it back. Don't rotate over there. That guy is super hard to kill.
Manages to go for blue buff invade mid. Sap just finds the kill onto Picorino. Is looking to stay alive. Manages to do so. Might even have some help turning a kill around. Will the tick damage after the ult be enough?
Oh, no.
Yes, it is! Unfortunate for French Emperor. Sap picks up 2 kills in mid with Calvin low as he is. Coast looking for a little more aggression. Ult from Davy down. And that's a Gold Fury pull for the Ravens.
That's a quick Gold Fury. Davy, no ultimate. Calvin, similarly, no ultimate and both low HP. It's going to be a 50-50 coin toss. Reset and pulled by the Scorpions, and reset again.
Well, Calvin's low jump in from Coast. Doesn't have any mana to work with despite the Transcendence. Does find just enough for a hail of arrows. Gets the kill onto Calvin. So that's what, 4-3 that they were able to find total. Coast is low. Davy is just trying to find the chase. Good leap from Coast. Again, working with just the barest minimum of mana. But gets the disengage. They save the Gold Fury, though, so the Scorpions only lose the kills.
Yeah, can't believe the rest of the Ravens just let Coast like be that solo agent, by the way. Worth noting, like that fight happened in the Gold Fury pit. At no point did Davey do anything besides throw out auto attacks. I believe misses like 4 before he connects 1 onto Coast, but the entire time, Rapio, Sap7, literally anybody could have stepped up to try and help out Coast. Instead,
that Silence too, like had his ult and could have maybe potentially saved Coast's mental.
And Coast would have likely preferred to have lost Scarab's Blessing as opposed to his beads, but instead everybody else from the Ravens just says, hey, you know what, I trust him. Coast has got it. And he does, I guess. So, yeah, right play.
And you know what? Yeah, he gets away with it, gets a kill. So maybe we're not ones to judge. Well, we're ones to judge a little bit, though. And we'll see, I guess, how that works out. I mean, this duo lane has been very close back and forth. I think just a second ago, Davey did have a small lead. But when you're 2-1 and 2 on an Uller, it tends to end up paying off for you. It's often not seen to get that many kills, though, and have the Gold Fury just completely negated. Silenced, body blocked in the jungle, but is a Khepri and has that Heart Ward amulet. So it's at least a little bit of prots alongside that stacked Thebes. That is going to just make it a little too difficult to kill him, and so the Scorpions just let that one go.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well the Ravens reset that Gold Fury, like, again.
Yeah.
Like, Coast,
they could have just killed the other one, too. They could have just killed Davey or forced him out.
They could have just killed Davey, forced him out. They could have re-pulled the Gold Fury and forced Davey to walk back up after he'd already used the Sap Rain. A lot of things could have been. Coulda, woulda, shoulda for the Highland Ravens, but still massively ahead, and doing so easily, experience and gold largely in their favor, barring the duo lane where Davey has been able to hold on to his 1-level lead. Surprised that not much emphasis has been in the mid lane, though. French Emperor just leaving Picorino to his own devices.
Yeah, and an unfortunate position as well. 0-2 and 2, I think, soloed out by Sap in that last fight, and now potentially in a little bit more trouble. Forced to leap away, and the ult does get dropped onto him. Sap just does so much damage, erases the French Emperor off the board, and Picorino just had to run away. Calvin, well, this time it's going to be a little bit quicker for the Ravens, not going to need as large a chase. And they kill him off. Now they're going to start up the Gold Fury, and this one should be a lot easier to confirm.
Yeah, nobody in range to put up any sort of defense this time, so the Highland Ravens able to take that one for themselves. And Lamogao going to chase out through the jungle, actually walking into the speed buff. Is he going to get this? Does not seem like it. Picorino, I believe, able to secure that one for his jungler, so French Emperor won't have to feel too bad as he walks back to lane. Picorino not allowed to walk back to lane. He's been caught out by Lamogao, forced into the tier 2. And, well, the minions will be able to take that tier 1 down. Map state, neutral objectives, and team fights all going to the Highland Ravens, as is the experience and the gold. The charts do not lie. Things are starting to get dire.
Yeah, you zoom in real hard like the game was earlier on the like early game where it's 300, 500 gold bouncing back and forth between the two teams, and it was literally wave to wave as to who was going to be ahead. The rest of it showcases exactly what's been going on, which is just the steady climb. As you had mentioned, 4,000 gold, 15, well, approaching 16 minutes in. A really comfortable lead for the Ravens, 9 kills to 3 as well. And the items you can start to see, I mean, tier 3's finished where there are still tier 1s or tier 2s on the other side. The only one that is matched is that serrated edge, and it's just because of that, tier 2 bow that gets picked up on Kali so often early on. So realistically, it's not even equal in the jungle, despite what they had. And now we're starting to see massive gold leads or level leads, as you had highlighted. In the jungle, that's one of them. Rapio, 15 to the 13, now 14 on the other side. Ugly One trying to just get away as they are chasing under the tower. Mogao has no concern for his own life because this tower is doing nothing. Sap kills the French Emperor over there in mid in a 1v2, and now the 3v1 on the right finally get a kill, and Sap's looking for more. Picorino is not taking the fight.
Yeah, and why would he? He didn't win it in the 2v1. Why would he win it in the 1v2? Maybe if Sap7 takes that much damage. Does not have the tag available. Picorino, though. Does he know Silence is here? Now he does. Should be able to disengage, but disengage in the wrong way.
Yeah, there's literally no safe haven. That's a good stun from Ghost. Sap was coming up mid as well. Yeah, the beads used, maybe unnecessarily. You were dead 8 ways to Sunday. And now it's 12 kills to Scorpion. What do you mean?
8 ways to Sunday?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
There's only like 7 days in the week, man.
Well, so it was guaranteed. He was always going to die. That's what it, yeah, that's what the phrase, it's guaranteed. Like, it's going to happen.
I love it. Like, don't get it too.
I
love
it
it. Yeah, look up the etymology of 8 ways. I typed 8 ways into Google and to Sunday popped up. That's crazy. Okay. Wow. Highland Ravens massively ahead in every single regard.
Yo, the idioms dictionary. I didn't know that exists.
It is a long shot here. Rampio and I silenced. Setting up a gang. Calvin, does he know? Throws the ward over the wall. Spots out 3 members and is able to maintain his life in spotting them out. Sap 7 on the right-hand side. Would love to just do it to Jade, the French Emperor again, who's just got to stop jumping on buffs, man. Dies expeditiously.
Yeah, they're like spending a lot of time. This is it feels like the run for the Ravens to see how much they can make the other team seen only in the grayscale. Sap has that Scarab's Blessing. It's not going to get procced, though.
What a blink.
And what a blink to get away from the damage there. And a duct as well to make sure Picarino can't close up that 3-level gap in mid. And now Mogal wants more. Mogal's going in for the fight, and they're finding what they want. The damage onto Picarino is good. Rapio comes in to get the kill, and Ugly One, surrounded by 4, is going to get chased down for the kill. And the Ravens are just running through the Scorpions.
Yeah, just like a hot knife through butter right now. The Aru Scorpions have not been able to group up as 5 and take a fight. There's never been even numbers. It's the Highland Ravens with the lead, with the numbers advantage, with every single thing in their favor, taking up every single proactive engagement. The Aru Scorpions just caught unaware time and time again, and this is the result of that. 19 minutes in, Fire Giant dropped low and will go over to the Highland Ravens. 0 opposition. French Emperor Calvin and I Davey may be amongst the realm of the living, but are not in range to put up any sort of defense. Now the Chaos team with pretty strong siege, considering they didn't care about the towers before they had the Fire Giant, will probably be able to take out these tier 2s easily.
Yeah, and when this is happening to your colleague, it's never going to be too great.
Lived.
Good news, yeah, this time French Emperor does get out of there. 5-level gap between the jungle and the mid lane. 4-level gaps just in the jungle. Experience is starting to be massive. 5-level gap in mid lane. I didn't even notice that total. So realistically, this Zhang Kui is a thorn in their side, and that might be putting it way too lightly for what exactly Sap is providing. That ult from Ugly One does virtually nothing for them. It gets the silence out there, does not save the French Emperor's life. Jumps in and unfortunately goes down. Silence has the Scarab's Blessing, going to use it on themselves, try to get it procced, and is going to just res right between them all. This is looking like a bloodbath, and Coast is jumping in, living for this moment. Silence, though, is going to get taken down. Finally, a kill for the Scorpions going the other way, but it's going to cost them 4, potentially 5 full members of their team as the Ravens just continue to slaughter them.
Yeah, slaughter is just a great word for it, because there was not much going for the Scorpions there. That's a hard fight to break down, because the only reason we see a single death on the Highland Ravens is because iSilence legitimately just didn't care about his own life. he was just setting up kills left and right. Not much fight back there. French Emperor jumps in, gets eviscerated. Ugly One zones 2, but you know, for like 30 seconds, dies for it. Picarino, you said it, 5 levels down, now 4 levels down, levels up post-mortem from that assist, so not so bad there. You can only hit level 21, so that level gap only going to continue to shrink throughout the course of this game. F6 vote thrown up by the Aru Scorpions will not go through. The Highland Ravens, they're going to have to take the long route. They're going to actually have to kill this Titan.
And right now, well, there's still 3 towers that are standing for the Scorpions, so maybe going to take a little while for them to get there. Although, like you had said, the fight potential maybe not going the way the Scorpions
want. It's like 13,000 gold.
Minute 40 seconds left for the power play, 13,000 gold. You know, not too much, 21.5. Maybe just straight up another kill. They already have 5 times the amount. Rapio's getting low, though. The shield putting in work, and they're finally able to kill off the jungler. That's going to be a massive bounty. The 8-2 and 7 Nemesis taken off the board. But can they get out of here? That is going to be the biggest thing. Calvin caught out. Coast is going to be able to get that one. French Emperor backing under the tier 2, and
He got
on
him?
the other side. So not only does Coast get that kill, but everyone else in the mid lane is dying. Ugly One should make it back to the fountain. They've got fire minions coming and pulled back, and they're looking for the deicide. They'll find that one, go for the Titan, and the Ravens will win game 1 convincingly.
I think Coast threw hail of arrows over the wall to take out the Kali with no vision, so wild play. I'd say pretty lucky. I mean, it's a tiny circle,
Calculated.
man.
He
Yeah, you
knew
think
it.
so?
Nah, not at all.
No.
He's just looking for more kills
The
and
the
got
game
lucky.
was calculated.
Yeah,
It
5
has
times
to
the
be.
kills.
Gotta hope that was calculated. If that was an accident, well, the Scorpions, they're gonna be worse for wear.
Well, maybe it was an accident for the Scorpions, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, of
they
course.
they aren't happy with how that went.
That's a big mind.
The Ravens absolutely love it. And as again, I use convincingly. I think we say that like every now and then, and it'll be like, like they had like a small lead and then they ended up winning the game. This was like massive early on. Like the gap was just tangible throughout the majority of the game.
You could say insert any role chasm, and I don't think you'd be far off. From the
Definitely
truth of that
mid.
one. Yeah, definitely mid Grand Canyon there, honestly, dude. That was, what was it, 6 levels at one point?
6 levels at one point. Sap was
okay.
finding kills, took a 1v2, got a kill, and then still managed to survive through it. It was fun to watch from the Ravens. Exactly what you said earlier, a favorite team to enjoy watching. We'll see if they can close this out in 2, or if the Scorpions have another show for us to put on right after this. Well, the Ravens take game 1, and it didn't take them too long to get to the point where they were going to continue winning that one. I mean, it felt, what was it? I remember the kills were 4-3 for a while, and then they were 9-3 for a while, and then it was 12-3 for a while, and then it was 15-3, and then it was 20-4, and I think that's where we ended, or somewhere around
25
there. 25-5 was at the
Yeah.
very end. So after all of that math, it was like 1 kill for the Scorpions per every like 6 that the Ravens picked up, something like that. It got dirty towards the end there, Mifflin, and I think that the best way to describe it is that the Ravens just won. That's how I'm going to say it.
Simply built different in game 1, I suppose. There will be adaptations, I'm sure, as we go into game 2.
I hope so.
Because there are pretty clear contention points, points of friction that the Aru Scorpions will likely want to address. And I think the guy on your screen right now is a great one to highlight. Sap7 was just allowed free
this one
reign
felt
of the
bad.
mid lane. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty sick play.
That's the
Dives to
fadeaway.
dot. Yeah, doesn't look. He knows he's dead. Doesn't need to think about it. Look, there is no reason a Zhang Kui should be allowed to play on tower line from level like 9 to level 20. It is an immobile mage that did not build defense whatsoever. It's not like a Warlock staff Zhang Kui. That wasn't like a Breastplate of Valor, second item, Book of the Dead Zhang Kui. That was, hey, I'm going to walk up doing a whole lot of damage Zhang Kui. And that means you're essentially a melee mage that has no escape. Should be pretty easy to kill, especially for a Kali, who straight up got death immunity against a god that is the majority of the time damage over time. Ultimate, damage over time. First ability, damage over time. You'd think Kali should be able to at least rotate through and limit that a little bit. Was not the case here in game 1. Similarly, I think Lamogao was allowed to dominate the soul lane on his own.
Yes.
Wasn't the most explosive performance from him, but looking at the damage, I think that speaks for itself. 7,000 over his contemporary. Ugly One, and well, Ugly One was stuck inside of his tier 1 tower, dying inside of it. For like, I don't know, the entirety of the game.
Yeah, double the damage coming out of the mid lane from Sap, more than double the damage coming out from Sap than what we got out of Picarino. And so you get to see a lot from the Zhang Kui almost immediately. Like you said, there were a lot of moments that just, wow, like, wow, he did that, man. It was just insane to me to watch. And some of it eventually did come from, hey, he had a lead because he played well early on, and then that lead played into itself. When you're 5 levels up on a Kali, I think that's where, like, you know what? You should be able to beat him here, here, and here, but also he's level 20 and you're level 15. Good luck. And I think we got to see that to the full fruition. We'll see if the Scorpions can change things around here in picks and bans for game number 2, especially now that the Ravens are going to be taking first pick, Mifflin, and changing things up. It was a chalk first pick last time around, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that didn't do what first picks need to do in the grand scheme of the game.
Yeah, generally your first pick selection is either going to be just someone that holds their own very well, you're trying to hide the nature of your draft, or you take something that is just really strong, something that is a contentious pick, something that everybody else wants. I don't think Chalk did either of those. Generally, Chalk will be able to hold his own, was not quite able to up against the Mulan, and I'm not sure that that was too much user error. I think Mulan just gets the better end of that trade the majority of the time, at least once she starts leveling up that training exercise, or the mastery. I'm blanking on the passive name, where she hits her abilities and it levels up. Until then, Chalk maybe has a slight advantage, but it is that. Slight.
And it doesn't last long, so realistically, you needed an early lead. Khepri does get banned off this time around. Unfortunately, that does leave open. Actually, Kleena was open last game. Nobody picked or banned it. That's actually kind of wild to me. That is a good first pick, though. And so locked in here for the Ravens. I'm going to go off onto a aside. I can't wait until Yorm stops getting banned, because having to remember how to spell Jormungandr every time for my spreadsheet, you'd think I'd like remember it, and I do.
Doesn't it?
But
You're on Excel, right? Like it autofills. You probably type Yorm and hit tab.
No, it don't do that.
That
for me.
is.
It doesn't.
You don't have the premium, huh?
No, I guess not. I didn't pay extra for the autofill for Jormungandr. I also could just like Control F, change all of them to just Yorm, and save myself a bunch of time.
That would be great.
But that feels less official then, you know. Either way, locked in. Ho Yi Mulan coming back up against the Nemesis and the Fafnir. That gets locked in early for the Scorpions, so it feels like they're going to be going a little more auto-attacking overall in their composition with a lock-in like that.
Yeah, already has an auto-attack jungler, so no matter what, you're going to have 2 targets that will benefit greatly from Coerce, because Hunter is generally the name of the game in the duo lane, or at least a magical hunter, and, well, Fafnir boosts those equally. Morgan Le Fay locked in, though. That's interesting. A pick that has been kind of coined as the next best up, the runner-up. It's like not quite the Thos, not quite the Zeus, not quite the Merlins of the world, but Morgan Le Fay, like right there, right on the precipice of being this great pick, taken with every single other mage still available. Like literally everyone.
Literally every other mage.
Actually, the
still,
whole tab.
All of them. And if you've ever looked at it, there's a lot of mages in the game.
More than any other role.
20-something plus probably at this point.
Oh, there's like, how many
30.
mages?
Yeah.
There's like 48, I think.
Really? Oh my god. I lowballed that hard.
Yeah.
Well, Agni Thoth banned away by the Scorpions. The other side, the Soul and the Heimdall get taken off the board here. And that, creates an interesting thing. It feels like the Scorpions, again, trying to control the mid lane dynamic. Zhang Kui not banned out this time around, and I feel like Sap, even maybe it was favorable matchups last time around, maybe unfavorable against Morgan Le Fay, but kind of did a number to him on a pick that has yet to be banned away, maybe out of fear with Agni doing so well and with Thoth doing so well, trying to control just slightly more what pressure is going to come out of there. RDO does get locked in here, though, and it's a lot later than we're used to seeing her down there. Locked in for the Scorpions, so presumably going over to solo to match up against the Mulan.
And RDO does not have any poor matchups. Should be able to hold her own. Gore, point of correction. I think it's like 35 mages, actually, not 48. I went a little bit overboard. But because I play Assassins, there's like none of those in the game. Yomojo also locked in pretty late into the draft, and a god we don't see often. Here, stop me if you heard this. Kronos locked into the draft. Also a god we don't see too often. Has great scaling. Is going to deal a whole lot of damage. I'm not necessarily sure that it has any particularly great matchups against the other side, especially now that On Her has been locked in. A god locked in last that we hardly ever see as well. Literally 0% of the time up until now. Does actually have a great matchup in a Kronos. You impale him into a wall, generally what's the answer? I'm going to beads immediately. Oh, I'm stunned. I don't want to die. Start channeling that ultimate. Well, you're standing still, and Desert Fury does a whole lot of DPS very early on.
Well, the good news is, and this is where things get wonky, I think in any other region, I'm with you and talking about this Kronos versus On Her. I think that Kronos mid is going to be more likely here, only because...
Oh, it's Ho Yi.
Yeah, Ho Yi. Well, first off, Ho Yi's there, but also Europe likes playing him. Like, Zero Sliv's playing him in mid, or I say loves. Loves might be too strong a word there. Has played him in mid, and a few other players always bring him through. So, yes, Sap on this pick. And I can once again say this, and this time with a great amount of confidence. I have never seen a Morgan Le Fay versus a Kronos in mid lane.
Like ever?
Ever.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Like, who plays Kronos mid normally?
Yeah, nobody. Like, not even Zeros. Yeah, I'm like hypothesizing that matchup. I'm thinking about it. I'm running the numbers.
Yeah, playing it off in your mind, seeing like, okay, well, where does like Kronos' slow and stun come in? Where does like the slam down, his sim, I scaling early on as well? Like, he's not great levels 1 through 19.
Yeah, level 20 though. This might be one of the strongest gods in the game, but won't have the same level of clear as Picarino. Won't struggle as much because Morgan Le Fay generally not a god that you pick up for her clear either. So Kronos generally probably one of the weakest mid lane clears of all the mages because the majority of his kit is single target. You don't really max out that third ability. So will be a little bit behind, but won't be that far behind. Power Spike's going to be hit similar timing. It's more so about which one of these mages can defend themselves against a gank, and one has what I would coin unreactable CC, and the other has got
the most reactable CC.
Like, it's a slow and then a stun. You know, you got time.
And like his ult takes forever to channel later on, so that's something that we've seen Kronos killed through several times. Here's the question for you.
Okay.
And maybe we'll get to see it here from Sap specifically. You had mentioned it, the one does so much damage, it scales better, but it is small targeter. It's going to hit 3 minions at best unless you can group them up in a very, very absurd way. Do you level the 3 for mid? Like, do you do that just to have better clear? Does it even give you better clear if you try to level it?
I mean, if you max it, it will eventually start clearing out the wave on its own, but I think Kronos is best played in mid when you're prioritizing poke. It's not that you're competing with the other guy to clear the wave. It's, hey, I poked you with my one, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and eventually you're not able to walk up to the wave on your own without having to worry about your own life. That's where Kronos sees the majority of his value in mid. So when you watch Sap 7, I think more often than not, he'll be trying to land the one onto Picarino, or if Sap's allowed to have this amount of pressure in lane still, literally standing on tower line, auto-attacking it, well, the one's just going to hit the whole wave.
Well, French Emperor's going for an invade. Rapio sees him. The buff stolen away. Sap rotating a little bit late, but the slow's going to be there from the Kleena. They're just trying to close gap. Mogao going for the cut-off path. Picorino joining the fray. I don't know if they have what they need to try and find the kills they want, but they're going to go for it. There's the stun on the Picorino. Damage seems to be decent, but it's coming from the French Emperor instead. Sap7's the one who goes down. Ugly One, credit for the kill. Rapio forced to run back under the tier 1 in mid. All it would take is a couple of hits to change the fate of that kill, but luckily, the jungler's gonna get out of there. Mogao might not have the same story. One more dash, one more kill, and a great way to start it off for the Scorpions.
Yeah, anytime you start to get your mid laners involved in the fight is the best time for the Aru Scorpions to take that fight. Morgan Le Fay, much better than Chronos at this point.
Oh, there's going to be a leap in from Davey. What a ricochet! Rapio kills off Picorino. Elsewhere, there's the bubble bounce for the kill. And now they're looking to chase down Calvin. Stun. Good from the Emoja. Leap a little bit stronger, and Calvin gets away. But just like the 2 kills that kicked things off, the Highland Ravens balance it out.
Yeah, the Ravens also had Rapio essentially solo out Picorino in the center of the map. Picorino had earlier taken a tower shot, drops him down about 30% HP.
Died for first blood, is invading a red buff.
Well, yeah, his mid laner's dead. Like, who's going to stop him?
Okay, good point. I'm just like, that's insane to me. Like, that's so far up on the map.
It is. It took him a little while to walk past the wave. And well, he got the red buff and he got the wave and should have closed up a good deal of that gap up against Picorino. But yeah, I think that's just an avoidable death for Picorino in mid. Had he been able to just hold on to his lead, maybe head back to base, wouldn't have to be worried about remaining even with the Chronos. Generally, you want to have a pretty significant lead, especially considering how weak that laning phase is, but Sap7 has not given it up just yet.
Level 5, so maybe a little more survivability on board for Sap. I'm interested to watch this one. I'm loving this duo lane. Every time we've come back over here, it has just been fight central. I mean, I guess that's what you want. If you go for anything plus on her, but Fafnir, Sobek plus on her, anything like that, you're looking to kill. You want something to happen. And I think that's what's been going on for Calvin and Davey. Unfortunately, they're the ones who fall first early on, despite the pressure they've been able to exude in this lane. And Coast has now hit 5. You've got the same thing from Silence. With those ults available, that can really change the pace of the duo lane.
It can, but both Davey and Calvin have got leap, so should not have to be too concerned about the ultimate from Yamoja. Also a shell, first relic pickup for Calvin, likely going to turn into a phantom shell at some point in the near future. So even another avenue to make sure that they don't have to worry about those walls. That said, ever use those leaps, well, all of a sudden, there's a massive concern for you.
Yeah, that's all going to be frightening for them. Although they haven't had them forced out too often. I think I've actually seen Davey maybe jump in more than I've seen them use them for retreats.
Yeah, he's playing on her. That's what they do.
And so, yeah, you get the knock up, throw up the pillar, get the stun immediately after. It's just like it's the combo.
You go into like the flow state when you play on her. I think he has got one of the most cohesive kits in SMITE.
It feels so good to hit that combo as well. Good stun from Coast. Did not expect to see that one. Damage, immunity for Calvin for now. Leap over the wall.
Good slow.
But is it going to be enough? Blink forward from the Kleena. Damage is there. Shell is better. And it looks like the retreat. But there's the Suns. They want this kill. And they are going to get it one way or another.
No shot.
A lot invested, and they're able to pick that up. Sap. Well, you've seen this story one time already today, and it seems to be happening again. The damage just shy of getting the full kill onto Picorino. And Sap has what seems to be free roam of the jungle right now.
Yeah, should be able to ult out, but won't get him very far. French Emperor nearby, whiffs the one, Sap7. May have dropped a kill. Can he escape or get to some allies? Nobody coming to help.
Oh my God.
Just auto him twice.
Yeah,
no?
that damage.
No, okay.
I think because of Calvin's presence, maybe enough to ward Sap away. There's a world where he gets a double kill right there because French Emperor was low and Picorino came back from the tower. And so maybe a couple of changed abilities or different hits, and the Ravens mid laner could have been up 2-1. But as of now, we don't live in that world. I will say, Mifflin, though, he took a lead despite being first blood. It just now ticked over to 8 for Picorino. And so that is a frightening sight to see this Chronos getting this hands-on early on.
Yeah, he solo dived back camps up against Picorino at the 7-minute mark as Kronos. If there was ever an indicator...
He doesn't even have his pendant.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Could the titular Kronos pendant on the Kronos CDR. Yeah.
Yeah. That was okay. Either way, the damage seems to be there. Rapio, good dash. Gets under the tier 1 in the right lane. Mogao ulted by the Nemesis, but the Scream is looking to ward. It's a 4-man rotation from the Scorpions.
Okay.
They get 1 kill now. They're looking for 2 under Rapio, but it's going to be the rotation on the other side. Sap versus the World. Damage is going to be good onto Calvin. In the air, they get that kill, so it's a 2 for 1. But you have to argue the 2 worth way more than the 1 they were able to find in return, but they're looking for Ugly One, stuck in the blue buff, doesn't manage to get it. Good walls from Silence, missed 1 from Sap, but it doesn't matter. There's going to be the kill, and now the rewind comes around. With French Emperor this deep, they might be able to find a little bit more. Sap looking to get aggressive, tries to find the 1, misses it again. Stun, gonna be coming off cooldown shortly. He's gonna need it. That's gonna be a re-engage. French Emperor had barely any mana, but it was enough to get the kill. Silenced, chasing him down. I don't know if the Emoji is going to be capable of finding this.
Yeah, Sap7 missing a lot of abilities here. What was that? 3 1s, 1 stun, tons of autos, but does not matter when you're hitting as hard as you are, or does not matter when you've got Vaporous Coast over in the dual lane for you. Davey falls in the 1v1 at his own purple buff. And that's the strength of Ho Yi, and that's the strength of Kleena. Walks through a wall, takes out Picarino. You thought that fight had gone well for you, but the Highland Ravens, well, they giveth and they taketh, and now they taketh.
I do think we get to see something. And one of my favorite things about it, so stop time, Cronus is 3.
Yep.
Like you said, slow into a stun. I think my favorite thing about it, though, is initial damage into a second tick of damage, right?
It's
like
big.
when the stun hits.
It's large.
It's a lot bigger that time around, and it feels really good to hit. You know what else feels good to hit, but we haven't seen too often? Has been the, the time rift is one. Unfortunately, but it's super low cooldown, 5 seconds, plus the fact that it's low mana, plus the fact that it does a lot of damage, plus that I think he was going into a Chronos Pendant, so soon enough it's going to be even lower. It feels like it's just going to be something that is going to hit pretty hard, assuming we start to see it connect.
Yeah, assuming it hits.
Yeah. Though like 1 in 20 that he's connected on so far has been nuts, though.
It's hitting for upwards of 400, and I believe Picarino is probably sitting at like 11 to 1200 HP right now, so like 3 1s should probably take him out pretty quickly. Mogao, though, now we get a look at this lane after all that rounds out in the solo. Well, it's left him in the dust a bit. 2 levels down on this Mulan up against an Ardio, and Ardio doesn't have any bad matchups, and with a lead, it's got a pretty great one.
Well, now the aggression. Sap forced to rewind almost immediately. There's the Nem ult. They're going for the kill. They want the Kronos, and the Kronos, yeah, it's going to get found this time around. Not much you can do once your ult's down, and the beads aren't available. So Sap has died more this game than we got to see in game number 1. 3 times as many kills, or sorry, deaths for Sap so far.
Did he have 1 death?
He only had 1, yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, he did good on the Zhonghui, as it turns out. The Kronos, I'm still frightened by it, primarily just because of how prominent he's been in the game. He's 1-3-1. It doesn't look great, and admittedly, they're actually behind in gold. The Scorpions have about a 1K lead overall. And so they've been doing really well in that regard. Should be able to get a kill on the Silenced here as well. That Riptide going to create some space. The walls going to be the disengage that are necessary. But how hands-on the Ravens still are, despite the fact that fights aren't going their way, despite the fact you know, that you're 1-3 if you're in mid-sap, has not stopped getting aggressive. And it's only going to be more powerful as time goes on.
It will be, but that said, Picarino going to hit some significant power spikes. And a little bit, but not now.
Oh, Rapio, sorry, Davey, wow. Trying to jump away, and does so for a little bit. Is not going to get the back off. There's Rapio with the throwaway. And they're going to be able to find a couple of kills on the left-hand side. You might lose Sap a few times, but this duo lane, they're 4-0 and 6 combined.
Yeah, Vaporous Coast just putting in the most work right now. Was solo invading up against Davey. Picarino rotates over to try and alleviate some of that pressure. Realizes that he'd rotated into a 2 levels up, level 12 Ho Yi. As opposed to level 11 Picarino is. And, well, probably wishes he hadn't. Falls down, as does the ADC, as does the purple buff, as does the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. That one's a preemptive call, Gore. Hasn't happened just yet. Looking into the future. And it's gone.
Yeah, the full wave of minions will get the job out there. Sap has no mana and is still running at people. And I am just flabbergasted by this call for him.
I hate this guy.
There's the CC and there's the kill. That one I think I'm going to call deserved. That was wild to get aggressive. Mogao on the other side is once again falling behind 2-level lead for Ugly One. You had mentioned it. And killed off here in the 2v2. Rapio just trying to secure the blue buff. Does manage to do that, but might lose their life in the process. Ugly One's just chasing him down. Good stun outside the tower. And they're going to burn away the health bar for the jungler. Now, Pyromancer started up, and the Scorpions, again, with a small lead now, are looking to extend that to something a little more substantial, over 1K.
Man, Rapio really is the homie. I'm not risking my life for a blue buff as a jungler, literally ever. If I don't think it's a 95% chance, it's got to be like a 99% chance that I live if I'm committing to a blue buff there. If there's even more than 1% of doubt, you're just going to have to wait for the next one. Rapio, though, ever the teammate, tries to make sure Lamogao, who has been suffering in this lane, 3 levels down now, would have some solace in additional CDR, additional mana. Not the case. Blue buff falls down, and so does Rapio.
And ultimately, Mogao doesn't even get to pick it up. So they get the experience. I guess that's the big one to highlight, right? They pull something back in their favor. Although small it may be, it is at least something that they have going for them. 9-9, read the kills, 13 minutes in. And not quite 2K gold separating. We're about 1,500 in favor of the Scorpions now. A small lead, Mifflin, but we saw how well these leads can balloon last time around. It just depends on how well you play around it. Gold Fury up on this left-hand side, and the positioning, and specifically the grouping from the French Emperor, maybe Picorino potentially rotating over. Could have seen maybe some aggression from the Scorpions on it, but they're going to back off here. This is where things get interesting. We're getting into that you know, later mid portion of the game. As we approach the late game, who scales better? It feels like when you've got RDO plus any sort of, you know, carry on your team, you're gonna have some pretty good late game team fights if you're the Scorpions here.
Yeah, but Kronos plus Yamoja plus Kleena on one side.
Yeah, that's pretty good, huh?
Really, really good for late game damage output, especially towards objectives. And well, it seems like Davey has not been allowed to play. Yeah. My man has been handled in the duo lane. Vapor's Coast just doing it to him.
Yeah, locks him down with absolutely no problem there. Silence, though, maybe in a little bit of trouble. Two-man stun, and now a little bit of assistance. Sap gets some damage out there, dodges out a lot of damage as well, then misses his own, but is going to go for the rewind. Gets that one off, is right back center between 4. Between them and Rapio, it's enough to stop the Scorpions from getting aggressive, so it's 1-for-1 and an extended engagement. Davey for silence.
Yeah, Vapor's Coast still playing very far up in the lane here. 3 members of the Aru Scorpions will spawn out this back. Nobody can get there in time to actually stop him. And you know what? You know what the most egregious thing about this game is, Gore?
Yeah, what is it?
What's Sap 7's KD? 1 and 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a level lead.
Yeah.
To the 4 and 3 Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah.
Less deaths, more kills.
Yeah.
More assists.
Yeah.
Less time dead.
Different relics as well. The beads Aegis picked up. Sap has a sprint that's on there. Let's see if it ends up paying off for him. Maybe a detriment this time around. The beads and the sprint used, and the death on board. 1-5-1 for the Kronos. Ugly One taking a lot of damage under the tower, though, and is isolated. Coast jumps in. Isn't going to be needed for that fight. Mogao and Rapio able to find the kill onto Ugly One. So 1-for-1. And at this point, I think the 4-2-5 RDO is maybe worth a little bit more than the 1-5-1 Kronos.
Yeah, he's worth nothing. He's probably given over like 80 to like 110 gold every time he dies, and for some reason still maintaining parity in the lane. You were talking a little bit earlier about whether or not the Aru Scorpions are going to be the aggressors towards the Gold Fury. I think they cannot be unless Ugly One is there, and Ugly One dead for 20 seconds. That means it's at least at minimum 20 seconds where nobody's going to be able to pull the objective as of now. Highland Ravens don't even really have that great of ward coverage around the Gold Fury pit. That's all red wards. The Aru Scorpions may not have the actual pit itself, but they will know if any of the Ravens step up. Might dissuade them from looking towards this objective.
Yeah, should have like full vision on Coast right now and should have seen Silence rotating over. And then they split the Oracles down the middle. So the Gold Fury does not have any advantages wards given by the map to either squad. Ravens still looking to play aggressive. The Sap, 1-5-1 on the tower line, by the way. Absolutely wild to see this French Emperor maybe looking to remind them why you should not be there. Riptide gets a good disengage, and the Scorpions aren't going to chase him down. So, 11 to 11. Mifflin, we've moved forward, I think 14 minutes since I mentioned it. It's going to change now, though. The walls are up from the Emoja. Comes crashing down. Picorino super low in the back. Rapio gets the ult from French Emperor. Sap7 finds the rewind. Is going to land right in the middle. Resets the cooldowns. Tries to get aggressive. French Emperor, Picorino. Low, but not gone yet. Rapio blinks forward and is able to find one kill, finally turning something in their favor. 12 to 1. An ugly one finally joins the fray a little bit late. Rapio in the wall. He's trying to figure out where they want to get aggressive, and it doesn't seem like anywhere. You would think all of that, Sap almost loses their life. Yeah, they're pushing the tier 2 right now.
Yeah, Sap7.
I love this. I don't know what mental Sap has, but I love it.
Dude, he's literally playing off-roll tank right now. He walked up, missed 3 ability rotations, got pinned against the wall. One more spear would have killed him, does not connect, and then he just walks away, puts some pressure to a tier 2, while the rest of his team takes out the Gold Fury. Now, can there be a re-engage with Aru Scorpions? They say yes.
And they are going to go for it. That Gold Fury goes down for the Ravens. So they even up the gap in the gold lead. In fact, they take the gold lead away from the Scorpions. And they don't lose anybody on the retreat. Scorpions still looking to get aggressive in mid. Might be able to pressure out the tier 1. Or, more likely here, going for the Pyromancer. Pull back an objective of their own. And try to equalize the gold lead that is now favoring the Ravens.
It is. The Ravens have been slowly eking it back. Can they move in towards this Pyromancer? Not this time. Eye Silence tries the Riptide away, gets rooted in place, but there will not be a further engage from the Chaos team. That said, this is the first time the Highland Ravens have been in the lead this game. I'm sure they're just happy with it.
Yeah, they've been playing like they've had it the entire time, but finally having something to back them up. Although they do lose Silenced in mid lane. It's a 5v2, Mogao and Sap versus the field. And the Scorpions are getting aggressive. Mogao's going to go down. Sap manages to stay alive for now, but the dive under the tier 2, good pillar, good slows, good roots, everything. And it's a triple kill for the French Emperor. 6, 1, and 5 for the Nemesis.
Can they move towards the Fire Giant? That's a long time with Sap7 dead, Lamogao dead for 30 seconds as well. But the response is smart from the Highland Ravens. Vaporch Coast keeping up his pressure. Might be able to take this Phoenix. Does stick around. He's waiting to see if anyone backs. Nobody does. He'll take the bird. What's the trade?
Well, Fire Giant, half health. And should be confirmed. Phoenix is low.
Nope.
Picorino's there. Got a 4-level lead over Picorino, though. Might go for the fight and does drop the stuns. The damage is available, but it seems to be maybe too much in retaliation right now. Coast
can't outrun.
Barely has anything that he needs. The Aussie proc is there. Aegis gets its weight in gold to stay alive, but does not get out. So Fire Giant for all 5 members of the Scorpions, and they keep the Phoenix, and they get a kill, Mifflin. That feels like a good trade.
Yeah, a lot of kills, by the way. What was that, a delayed DSI for the Aru Scorpions. Fire Giant on 5 and plenty of towers to pick up gold from as well. This has been a back and forth game. The only thing that has not been in question is the experience gap. That has always been handily in favor of the Order side. Gold, though, back and forth, and now map state back in favor of the Aru Scorpions. Gotta think they're gonna group up on that left-hand side and make their war path across the map through these tier 2 towers. But as of now, it's a lackadaisical grouping from the Chaos team. 3 members somewhat near mid, 2 members in the duo lane, but no defense for the Ravens.
Yeah, not mounting one over any tier 2s. Don't cry over spilled milk. It seems like they're going to let this one fall pretty quickly to the Scorpions. They are going to defend a little bit of the tier 2 and mid. And Mogao's just watching the left lane to see where this team ends up. The Scorpions not pushing it forward, and so opting to play it a little safer overall with this Fire Giant buff.
They are now approaching the tier 2. It's a slight grouping for the Highland Ravens, but Lamogao's still pretty far away. Could be a push in here, but not much damage.
Not a whole lot to lock either side down. The stun's not going to connect from the Ravens, and the Scorpions not having enough damage to feel confident diving this one. Full 5-on-5, I think for the first time total this game.
The set, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, for the full set. They're grouped up around this tier 2. It's surprising to see how patient I think the Scorpions are being. They need to wait for this minion wave, though, since they don't have the backdoor protections to shred. Ugly One walks forward. With the minion wave there, it's going to get cleared quickly, but that's going to be the go button for the Scorpions. Damage from Ugly One is not going to be there. Instead, it's turned onto the RDO. I don't know if that's where you want to be. And now the chase is on. They want a little bit more if they're the Ravens. The wall's going to come up in mid, not going to lock anyone down, but they force the ult out of Calvin. And now the fight is separated. Mogao goes down to the French Emperor. Rapio looking for the kill onto the jungler. Great stun from Coast is able to help turn that one around. Silenced is low, but Sap finally has the damage in his late game. Kronos looking for the hits. As long as he can connect, you will get the kill, but it's not gonna happen here. A lot of whiffed autos and a few whiffed abilities, and Calvin jumps over the wall.
Hey, Sap 7 certainly put out enough damage in that team fight to make up for some whiffed ability. Yeah, there we go. Okay, hits the stun, immediately falls down. Picorino makes them pay.
I feel bad picking on you, but 1-7 and 3.
Hey, he's top damage, all right?
You're top damage. Look, you're knocking it out of the park. Rapio picks up a kill onto Davey. Calvin, Picorino, last two here. Silence looking to come back into the fight, and maybe along with some assistance. That's going to be the leap in from Coast. The autos need to connect, or a ricochet. There it is. Threads the needle and finds it, but loses their life. No Aegis again does so much for Coast. But they die, an all-out brawl in the mid lane. I don't even want to do the math on how many people just died. It was a lot.
Yeah, but Calvin maintains Fire Giant buff for the last 25 seconds that it will be remaining on his belt. Hey, that's HP 5. Maybe it gets him a red buff invade for his team. That entire team fight just goes south the second that Ugly One decides to walk in alone against the Highland Ravens. I was going to make the point that the Ravens' base defense is not incredibly strong. Calvin able to work his way over the wall. Because of their unorthodox mid lane selection, Kronos generally going to be single target, struggles mightily to apply that damage to even one target.
You can just say struggles mightily. He's 1-7. We know.
Yeah, well, you know, he's top damage though. He's putting out numbers. Does not really have the best ability to clear out these waves. Does not have the best AOE presence to keep these enemies' gods away from him. So what does Ugly One do? Dashes in a straight line at him, gets stunned, and makes it easy to apply that single target. Dies before the fight even starts. The Highland Ravens able to turn the engagement from there, get a little bit overzealous, does Sap 7, trades out his own life. Picorino just does it to him easily on his own, and from there, the Aura Scorpions able to restabilize. That said, even game state, barring the gold differential, 24.5 minutes in. 3,000 or so gold, not a massive deal. 3,000 or so experience, similarly, not a massive deal right now. It's generally only going to be affecting the supports in the experience. This is going to be a dead even Fire Giant dance.
Which is absolutely wild, I think, considering the way that we've been seeing things. So this is going to be really fun to watch. Yeah, how many kills? It's a lot for a European game. And specifically
35.
That last one in mid was insane to me. We'll see whether or not this is going to be a huge fighter. I guess it's going to be no matter what. Single target stun onto Ugly One. The damage isn't going to be there for the follow-up. So the solo laner alive for now. RDO. The rest of the Scorpions back away. Burn at this point. Look at the build for Kronos, level 20 now.
He slams. Not a whole lot of pen, but he slams.
You're going to kill a Fire Giant pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, I mean, just getting penetration from Deso and Charon's coin right now. Hastened Ring picked up as well as Hakate, so his attack speed through the roof. Likely like a Nimble Rod in the next slot, and well, that's a ton of power. It's a little bit more percentage pen, and it is going to give him a good deal of attack speed with all the power he's already got stacked up in the build. Maybe even an alternate timeline. Oh, no, that's a conduit gem in the first slot. Thank God. I thought we were going to be looking at like a double Kronos ult situation.
Yo, you killed me? We'll do it again. Yo, you killed me? We'll do it again. Just keep going with it. The Fire Giant dance, well, it's becoming an interesting one to me because there's not a lot of, I want to say, dancing being done.
They don't know the steps.
They're not necessarily, fighting very well. Sap's alone in mid lane trying to push it up. There's still a tier 1 in mid for the Scorpions. 3 towers standing for them, none of them in the duo lane. 2 towers standing for the Ravens, and tier 2 in mid and solo. Ugly One up against Coast. Coast winning that fight with this damage, and that build, that was frightening how much damage he did to Ugly One.
Yeah, Coast built to beat that guy.
Yeah, just him too.
Yeah, just him, maybe Calvin as well. Tank Shred build here, which means that the Highland Ravens will be lacking a bit in objective burn had they not had the absolute legend Sap 7 on this Kronos pick. Now with double Hunters, 1 physical, 1 magical, it doesn't matter because there's no crit. It'll still burn pretty fast.
Well, Calvin goes in for the ult. There's a Riptide to help disengage the team. The Ravens trying to run away. Suns get dropped, and damage gets spread. Calvin, Ugly One, low health. So far, that Dragon transformation not doing too much. Mifflin, at this point, this fight is win and probably win the game with the death timers, as long as you don't lose a lot of people. Although last fight we saw, what, 4 for 4 or something ridiculous like that? We'll see if this one does anything similar. Walls get thrown up, silenced, looking to lock someone down. Davey does go down with a great shot from Coast. Now how much more can they get? French Emperor dives deep and is looking for Mogao, not able to find it. Stunned from the Chronos, not able to connect. But French Emperor chased down, one more auto, and there's the kill. Ugly One stuck between 3, and they are looking for the hit. Good over the wall from Sap, and now it's just the chase down. Couple more autos is all it'll take. This Ardio is running around, and Rapio's getting work done. I think it's 2 and 2 that get split up. Picorino versus the World. Now that tier 1 in mid does finally go down. What can the Ravens do with this time? Mifflin, 30 seconds with just a 1v5 as they run down mid lane. They're going to go through the tower, go through the Phoenix. They might be cutting it close. They're going to kill and stagger out Picorino for the deicide. 10 seconds left for Davey, and then another 10 seconds left after that. This is looking like a Ravens win to me. They're walking into the Titan room. Davey is not even going to get the chance to respawn properly.
There he is.
He's going to jump forward. He's going to try to do some damage. It's not going to work out too well for him. They kill him off. Get a second deicide in just 30 seconds. Take the Titan, take the set in a 2-0 fashion.
The Scorpions were just struggling to find how they wanted to approach these dives. It was a separated team fight where Ugly One walks up alone into some hunters. Probably shouldn't be doing that too often when you get shredded as quickly as he does. Sap 7 allowed to free cast for the entirety of the team fight. Rapio goes absolutely massive in the backline. Completely ignored, essentially. Was able to take 1v1 after 1v1 after 1v1, and that's exactly what Kleena wants in a match like this. And it adds up to a very convincing last minute for the Ravens.
I got to get one more in. Does it matter if you're free casting if like half of them don't connect?
Leave them alone,
Sorry,
man.
I had to just because it happened. Look, they won the set and they did it. Well, after that game 1, that one was entertaining to say the least. The Ravens win this one 2-0. We're going to break that one down and then get ready for the SPL right after this. Well, in an entertaining set, the Ravens take this one 2-0. Game 1, very convincing. Game 2, I don't know what world we lived in, topsy-turvy land, but it was fun to watch. Back and forth, an early lead for the Scorpions, and then it gets pulled back by the Ravens, and then I think everyone at one point died. Almost everyone died in mid lane, and that essentially just reset the game for the next Fire Giant, and all of a sudden, it comes down to one fight, and they finally get the kills that are necessary on the side of the Ravens to get the win.
Gore, we were technically right in our analysis of how that mid lane matchup was going to look, in that sure, the Kronos wasn't able to hold his own in the lane, generally dying a whole lot, but technically right doesn't feel great here because he gets dominated. What was it, like 1-6 at one point, but still a 1-2 level lead at all portions of the match. Sap 7 somehow has the Zapman passive and just keeps dying and maintains level parity or even a lead for himself. Probably thanks to the guy on your screen right now. Vaporage Coast just dominated this lane, man. Every single time he saw Davey, it was on site. It was personal. And then somebody would rotate over, and they'd be like, oh, Vaporage Coast is fed. I probably shouldn't have rotated over here, because they would die as well. Generally, it was Picarino, actually, who tried to help out. Well, Vaporage Coast took it personally.
Yeah, and just, I mean, look at that damage output. It's just nuts how much he was able to do and how much they're committing to killing him. I mean, several times we saw, 2-3 people dive onto Coast, and Coast just fight back anyway. 7-2-6 for Coast, 10-3-6 up there for Rapio.
That dude's a beast.
2-7 for Sap. But, of course, there's an 0-7 on the other side. Davey, you had mentioned it, just kind of bullied throughout the lane. And if you want to look at damage gaps, look at the 9K from the On-Her up to the 23, almost 24K from the Ho-Yi. 7,000 damage down from Sap, but admittedly they made up for it literally everywhere else. And I think Sap made up for it because any of the damage that connected, it was the stuns that mattered the most.
Yeah, when it really came push to shove.
I felt bad.
He was able to get involved. He shredded objectives, he shredded neutral objectives, and he shredded, well, the ugly one, like exactly one time when he like dashed into the tier 1 tower, tier 2 tower with Fire Giant and kind of flubbed that.
He had a lot of fun doing it, and he looked fun, or looked like he was having
fun.
Ugly
Ugly One or Sap 7?
Sap.
Yeah, Sap was
having a lot of fun. I don't think Ugly One was having any fun.
Well, he bopped the lane.
Yeah, there was like a 18-minute window where Ugly One was having a lot of fun, and then like a 7-minute window where all of it didn't matter anymore because he stopped having it. It did not work out well for him. We can look at the EU schedule. That is, again, the last European game of the week, but not the last SCC of the week. So 2 2-0s here in the region today, and unfortunately for the Aru Scorpions, not getting a win there does mean that in the standings they are 0-3. We've avoided that middle 4-way tie. I think only 2 teams now that are going to be tied for that there. But another 2 teams, Mifflin, tied a little bit higher up. The Gilded Gladiators, who were 2-0 going into yesterday, 2-1. Now the Ravens should be matching them and giving us a little bit of what to expect here in Europe.
Yeah, we're starting to approach the tail end, the latter half of the SCC. What do we, like the phase? Do we call them phases here?
Yeah. Most of the time.
Yeah, phase 1 of the SCC. So we're starting to see some parity amongst
You
the
made
top
me second guess it because I was like, do we not? Has we ever not
are
called
they
it
called
a phase?
I mean, they're phases in the SPL. I don't know.
Yeah, I think everything's a phase.
Yeah, we can call them heats.
It's just a phase.
Let's call them heats in
heats?
the SCC.
Okay.
All right. Get
so
on
here
that
in Heat
branding
1,
team.
Well, see, luckily, I don't see anything that says like phase 1. This is just like, SCC standings, you're up. So here in Heat 1, the Wargs up there, 3-0. 2 teams tied at 2-1. A couple at 1-2, and then the Scorpions, unfortunately, down there sitting at 0-3. We'll see, I guess, how that changes going into the future. Again, there is more SCC still happening this week, Mifflin, which is going to be the Eldritch Hounds taking on the Xibalba Storm. I believe both of those teams, if I remember correctly, in North America, 2-0. So someone's going to have to get their first loss there, and then we get to reset and go into week 4 of this heat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drill it into my brain now for you.
Well, no, it's Heat 4.
Heat 4, so each week is a heat?
Oh,
and not each phase?
You're right. Well, we got to get a different one for the weeks then.
Okay, so what would we call the weeks if the phase is a
Ember 4, Heat 1.
Ember 4, Heat 1. Uh-huh.
They're loving it. I can't, yeah, you don't like that?
I don't,
All right, we'll workshop it.
So in SPL, we're in phase 1, week 3.
Yes.
And so you're saying Heat 1, Ember 4 is what we're going into next week for the SEC.
That's right.
And you think that sounds good?
I do.
And he's committed to it. All right. Well, we're I at least like the heat a little bit. And you're bringing the Ember alongside. You know what? We got waiting room coming up here in just a couple of minutes. I got to move like into a whole different part of the studio to get that set up. I think Mifflin's going to be doing something with a telestrator. It's going to be a lot of fun. SPL is going to be coming up in about 35 minutes. So take this quick break. We'll be back with waiting room and then SPL around 1 p.m. See you then.